Good day. I'm Jolly Marie Gracie Sass, and I'm going to report about trends in legal system. As we already know what is legal system and types of legal system. So trends in legal system. As the third wave of democratization spread, the philosophy of individualism supplanted that of collectivism. When we say individualism, this is the habit or principle of being independent or self-reliant. While when we say collectivism, it is a cultural term refers to a culture that privileges family or community over individuals. Legally, this change promoted to individual legal rights and instituted practices of due process. Through these changes, the law became more transparent, courts become more impartial, and officials become more accountable in many countries. Presently, democracies retreat by signaling the rise of strong state, advocating collectivism, and pushes managers to pinpoint likely changes in legal systems. Managers begin it by accepting the authoritarian government uses the legal system to regulate business activity so that they can unconditionally support and sustain the state. There is no separation between the law and the state. The state uses the law to control public and private matters. Bluntly speaking, justice is not blind but arbitrary, oppressive, and state-serving. For example, let us recall an earlier observation on legal affairs in China. Doing business there, said by an observer, is dealing with a society that have plenty of rules, but they were seldom enforced. China appeared to be run by a masterful showman, which he believes that appearances matters than substance, and rules are there to be distorted. So the basis of rules. Once relegated to the periphery of the global economy, emerging markets steadily command center stage. Their expanding markets increasingly frame managers' interpretation of legal trends. Most notably, the strong performance of emerging markets pushes the managers to resist the prevailing philosophical basis of law in order to understand how local officials will regulate business environment. Specifically, the rise of emerging economies, along with their dissimilar conceptions on legality, requires the managers to ask what is the basis of rule in a given country. These questions inevitably directs attention to the rule of man versus the rule of law. So the rule of man holds that ultimate authority resides in a person whose word and whim, no matter how unfair or unjust is law. So for much history, the ruler and law were one and the same. The law was the will of the ruler, whether that ruler was called a king, queen, lord, emperor, or etc. Today, this title has largely given way to others such as chairman, emir, commandante, or etc. The rule of man is the rule of man is the instrumental device of totalitarianism. In effect, the sovereign leader is the one who creates the law, the official, the followers of the law, and the citizen is the subject of the law. The law is an apparatus of the states. Rather than deficient, justice is absent. So the rule of law holds that no individual is above laws that are clearly specified. They are commonly understood and they're commonly understood and fairly enforced. So no one, whether a public official or private citizen, is above laws. According to Thomas Jefferson, for instance, wrote in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, to hold forth that everyone, from king to peasants, are subject to the same law. So the rule of law's general maxim is no one is above the law, and the rule of man's maxim is I am the law. So to be more symbolically, outside the courthouses worldwide stands a statue of woman carrying a sword and measuring balances. sometimes with blindfold, sometimes with eyes closed. So her sword represents the power of the court, while her scale represents the competing claims of the petitioners. And the blindfold signifies that justice meted out objectively without any fear or without any fear or favor, without any fear and favor, regardless to the identity, power, and weaknesses. Justice is blind so that it is impartial. So the in absence of the rule of law, democracy struggles. Operationally, it constrains state power and safeguards the lives, liberty, and property. Instituting objective legal standards creates a stability that encourages investment and growth. Finally, through Finally, the rule of law defines the core of a just society and fortifies liberty. Implications for managers. So originally, in the Magna Carta of 1215, the concept of the rule of law anchored the legal evolution of many developed economies, most notably Great Britain, the United States, France, and Germany. Besides instituting a just political environment, the rule of law the rule guarantees the enforceability of the commercial contracts and business transactions while safeguarding the property rights. Investors and companies relies on it to validate laws, codes, and statutes. So in countries where the rule of man is the basis of law, the acceptable marketplace behavior is unpredictable. Managers Managers stay alert to trump up changes and solicitation of bribes. And lastly, the favoritism of local rivals. So the rule of men anchors the legal systems of many of today's emerging countries. Managers eyeing these fast-growing markets realize that where there is no formal law officially in place, society typically defaults to the rule of man. So, which rule when? So, some hypothesize that developing countries, especially fast growing emerging economies like China, Argentina, Russia, Nigeria, Peru, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, and Malaysia, will follow the precedent of developed countries and eventually accept the legitimacy of the rule of law. So, as Western countries move from agrarian to industrial economies, their societies increasingly saw the need to sanction and protect property rights. Ongoing economic development, in return, required a legal system that no longer appealed to the man in power, but to the written law for guidance and resolution. Consequently, managers must watch and learn economic environments as the economic environment changes. That's all and thank you.